What's up, Make Mental listeners? I'm Alyssa Herman, former athlete and founder of Beyond the Athlete. If you are a former athlete too, then you know the hardest part of retiring isn't leaving behind your sport, it's losing your teammates. This is why I created The Locker Room, an online community where former athletes rebuild structure, purpose, and healthy competition, all alongside a new team who truly understands them. Make Mental listeners can join free for 30 days. Just use code MAKEMENTAL at the link below to request your spot on the roster.
You know, one thing I've learned while running Make Mental is that the conversations are the easy part. It's creating content and getting it out there that takes the most time and energy. That's why I started working with C3 Socials, and honestly, they have been a lifesaver. They've been running my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for the past few months, and in just the last 90 days, over 350,000 people have visited my Instagram alone. But the numbers aren't even the best part. It is the time and energy that I've gotten back. Chandler, the owner, is super personable and always available. Seriously, it's crazy how hands-on she is. So if you're trying to grow your brand or just free up some headspace while getting results, check out C3 Socials. Tell them Make Mental sent you, because they've helped me tremendously and I cannot recommend them enough. You're listening to the Make Mental podcast. I remember the moment I realized something was off. From the outside, everything looked good. I was playing soccer at a high level. I was leading teams, doing what I was supposed to be doing. But internally, I was exhausted. And honestly, I was scared of what might come up if I slowed down long enough to feel it. I didn't need more motivation. What I needed was a different way to look at change. Today's guest understands that better than most. Today I'm joined by Michael, founder and host of Think Unbroken, a best-selling author, trauma coach, speaker, and someone who's dedicated his entire life to helping people break cycles that they didn't choose but are responsible for healing. Michael recently released an episode called How to Change Your Life in 2026, the 3-step method that actually works, on his podcast, where he talks about what he calls the 3A framework. What resonated with me most while listening to it is how it mirrored my own experience closely. So, Michael, thank you for joining us, and if you're okay with that, I would like to start there.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to jam with you. I created the Unbroken method really through a couple of things. One is now a decade of being a coach, probably about 8-ish years of being a podcast host, 8 years of being a public speaker, having written 4 books, traveled the world, and worked with a lot of people. And really what it's about, man, it's about looking at your life and where you are today and really getting into understanding where you want to go. And I think that one of the big mistakes people make when they're trying to create a change in their life is they don't actually have direction, right? And they don't have support. And a lot of people are living in a la la land world. You know, like I believe that we are all in a movie, and you have the ability to be a villain, a victim, or the hero. And when I came up with this methodology, it was just based off of, one, kind of my own experiences as a coach and as having guided and mentored over 3,000 clients. And the other was just kind of my own real life practical experiences in the way that I pull myself out. Because, you know, that's the reality is, even though I'm working with people, I still have a coach, I still have a mentor, I still have a therapist, you know what I mean? And so it's broken down into these 3 A's, which there's kind of a bonus. It's awaken and accept, it's anchoring, and then it's actualization. And so I can break those down briefly if you'd want, and we can go as deep as we want. So when I look at this idea of awakening and acceptance, it's truly looking at your life for where you are today, not in the fantasy world that you want to live in, but in the actual world that you are in. And that's really hard for a lot of people. You know, they're brutally in debt, or they're morbidly obese, or they're in a relationship or career that they should leave. All of the above I have experienced, right? And then once you have that kind of moment of awareness where you're bringing honesty to the table, because that's what it is. Like, can you actually look at your life and be like, yep, this is true. this is true. Like, that's the separator. That's the differentiator between people who actually create change in their life and not. And then within that awakening, can you accept the truth of the reality? Because psychologically, we want to move away from pain, especially self-induced pain, where we're looking at our life and you come to that moment where you're like, yeah, I did this, right? We don't want that. No one wants that experience. So in that acceptance moment, it's not accepting in the sense of, well, I'm just going to allow this to exist. It's acceptance in, okay, I realize this is the truth, and now I have a space to move forward. Beyond that, then you move into this place called anchoring. And anchoring is very important because the number one mistake I see people make is they think that they have to do all this work alone. Whether that's, they're building a business, or they're trying to fix their mental health, or get in shape, or change their diet, or launch a podcast, right? And there's tons of resources in the world. I'm not saying you can't get a lot out of things like social media and YouTube and books and things like that. But there's something really powerful in anchoring about being connected to another human being who has your back and who wants to see you be successful. And I think that's one of the really amazing things that I get to do as a coach, is I get to help people go and be their most successful self. And that also starts with a deep sense of a willingness to be vulnerable, right? Because if you don't come and sit with me and share where you're actually at, like, I can't help you. And I think one of the things people struggle with is being vulnerable. Reasonably so, by the way. It's very scary to show people who you are. And then once you're in this, now you have the ability to step into actualization, right? Can you actualize and become the person? And one of the things that I think about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And when you look at this, not that this is the end all be all about human psychology, but when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the one thing that he often points to at the top of this pyramid, the greatest experience we have as a human being, is self-actualization. Well, you don't get to self-actualization without doing stuff, right? And that doing, it matters because you want to do it in this unified way where it's brain, body, spirit, soul, where everything comes together to move you deeper and closer into the person that you want to be. And I think that from my own experience, everything in my life has only ever changed when I did stuff. And when I work with clients, and look, I'll just be honest with you. Over the years, over 3,000 clients have walked through my programs. I've had tens of thousands of people buy my books and millions of people listen to the podcast. The people who have the most success through the work that I have done and that I continue to do are the people who take this unified action, where they're really deeply into this idea of the unified actualization, where they're like, okay, I'm going to go do the thing, even if I'm scared. And that's the thing that I really push more than anything. But I found, because there's an order to this, I found that if people, and this was a mistake I made early on in my coaching career, because I fully didn't understand the process, right? And some things like unravel and present itself to you in time. When I first started working with people, I'd be like, hey, you just do the thing. But they couldn't do the thing, maybe because it's not embodied, maybe because it hasn't yet become into their awareness, maybe because of, you name the reason why not. And then I recognized that in the process of having the anchoring and the awakening, the action, that actualization part, came much easier because people felt like they had a place to land if things went south, and someone to celebrate them if they accomplished the goal.
Yeah, very well said. And I couldn't help but think about when you said do the thing, right? And also often we see people and hear from people that have already done the thing. They've already got to that third A, right? David Goggins, it might appear that he just wakes up every day and does the thing. He says it himself. He has no sympathy for himself. He said he was a fat slob, almost failed out of Navy SEALs, right? He had that awakening and acceptance that he needed to change his life if he wanted to get healthier. Then he had the anchoring, the SEAL community to do it with. And now he gets up and he does the actualization. He doesn't stop. He keeps the ball rolling. If there's someone that says, look, I'm at the point where, I guess we'll just use Goggins. If Goggins came to you and he said, look, I understand that I'm unhealthy and I'm ready to start, but I just am not doing it. What's really beneath that resistance?
Mm-hmm. You know, it depends. I mean, that high level is the experience that every human has. Caleb, there's places in your life where you're like, man, I know I need to do this thing, and you're not. Me too. And that's why, dude, that's why I have a coach. That was why I have a therapist, right? And I think that you look at. I was having a conversation about this last night, actually. Before the 1950s in America, because I'm American, I can speak to this. For the 1950s, America was a very communal society. Now, sure, it might have been segregated, and that's obvious, but it was communal. You had communities. Most people didn't leave their home until they were married, right? Most people, the idea of having your own house and your own car, like, it wasn't important, right? And so we live in this weird place and time now where people are judged if they're like 23 and they don't have their own house. And I think that it's really stupid. The reason that I'm saying this is because as a communal being, the thing that we need is we need the accountability and the connection to other people. When we were in the hunter-gatherer days, you know, you had to go and forage for the community. Right. And if you got ostracized from the community, you're good as dead. Now, that's not news. I'm not the first person to ever say that. But the thing that I started to really realize about the people that I was working with, and if Goggins came to me like that, the reason that he's coming to me is because he's looking for support from me, because he needs that person who can help him not only dive into the psychology aspects of it and be like, okay, these are possibly the reasons why. Does this make sense? Is this true? Yes or no? But also, hey, did you do the thing today, David? I text you. I called you. You're on the coaching call. I gave you homework. Did you read the book? Did you listen to the podcast? Did you go to the gym? Did you do the thing you said you were going to do? And communal accountability, not only in the one-on-one setting, but in the group setting, is how people transform their lives. AA has been so successful because of one reason. Most people in AA have a sponsor. Like, I think the stat's like 92% of people in AA have a sponsor. It's a very high stat. And that's why you see people be so successful in that. Even 20 years down, they're like, man, I just got my 20-year chip. I want to thank my sponsor in this community. They don't lead with, I want to thank myself. Sometimes you have to thank yourself. I mean, Snoop Dogg did a really great job of that at the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and I agree with it. You know, I love that. It's one of my favorite moments probably ever, because I think we need to give ourselves more kudos. But when I see people who come to me, they're coming to me not for a solution and a problem to be solved. They're coming to me because they feel alone. They've seen what I've done. They've probably watched any of the hundreds of testimonials about people who've worked with me, and they go, oh, this guy can help support me. Because Caleb, I've never changed anybody's life, man. It's just never happened. I'm just simply a guy who walks down the tunnel with you. And I'm like, I've been down the tunnel. Here we are. Let's go. And that is one of the greatest gifts that I get to give to the world when I look at these people who, on the backside of their journey and their experience, they're just like, man, things are different. And it's not only because I'm like, here's the tools, because, man, I can give you the tools. I mean, you played team sports. You know this as well as I do. You can give your star forward every tool in the world. But if he doesn't get on the pitch and put it into action and have a team of people around him who also are there showing up, doing the work, holding him accountable, it doesn't matter. He'll never be great. No one has ever been, name a person who's been great on their own. They don't exist. Right. And so I think a big part of it, and I know that's a very long answer, but a big part of it is the communal aspect. And if Goggins came to me, he's like, I'm stuck, I'd be like, cool, let's create some accountability. Let's create some community, and let's create a space where you don't feel alone.
Yeah. Obviously community is a massive driver in change, right? In yourself and community as a whole. I mean, that's why organizations and groups exist. Like you said, the human society, the fundamentals were based on community. I want to bring it back to something you hinted at early on, that resistance as the human experience. When someone may be trying time and time again and face this resistance, right? Let's say, for me, for example, I tell myself I'm going to drink X amount of water every day, and more days than not, I don't get there. I fall short of my goal. But I've tailored it so that even short of my goal is still plenty of water. So I've done the work and I've talked to coaches like that. But if someone has failed at, let's say, drinking their water, failed at going to the gym, come up short on their diet, maybe are slacking off at work a little bit, they're just uninspired and they're facing all this life resistance, why even try? Why even try to change your life? Why not just hum through it just like we are and get stuck in that acceptance phase, which I call like the slippery slope. We can just, yep, I accept that it happens, it happens, it happens.
Yeah, that's up to you, man. I don't know. I'm not here to convince anybody to go be great. You know what I mean? I mean, that's not my shtick. I know for a lot of people it is. I think that there's a lot of people who are going to be on their deathbed and they're going to be full of regret. They're going to be full of regret for all the things they didn't do, all the effort they didn't put in, all the times they could have showed up and they didn't, all the people they passed in the street and they could have said hello to, and all the opportunities for the career that they sat in the back for, and all those times that they didn't live. Dude, that's going to happen. Period. It is. I'm sorry. It sucks. I wish it wasn't true. There's people who have been in my life where I look at their experience and where they are today, and I'm like, dude, you're doing the same shit that we did 20 years ago. You know what I mean? 20 years ago, this was our experience. You're still that guy? All right, cool. I'm not going to hang out with you. I'm not going to talk to you. Good luck. I hope you figure it out. You have to want it, man. There's just no way around. You have to want it, and I can't want it for you. And I tell every client I've ever worked with, I'm like, if you choose to walk this path, I will walk it with you, but I can't want it more than you want it. I will do everything in my power to help you be as successful as humanly possible, but you have to want it. And I think that, there's times I wish, like, I'll give you an example. When I was 25, when I was having this rock bottom experience, right, when my life was really dark, I was 350 pounds, smoking 2 packs a day, drinking myself to sleep, partying all the time, drugs, girls, money, clothes. I mean, it was bad, dude. It was ugly, and I'm not proud of it. But no one in my friend group ever pulled me aside and slapped me in the face and was like, dude, you're fucking up. I would have loved to have that. And so I just assumed this was the status quo. Now, I also did not have a point of measure for masculinity that was healthy growing up. I mean, my heroes were Jay-Z, and my heroes were players and pimps from the neighborhood and the drug dealers and my uncle who's in prison for life. Like, those guys were my heroes. Those aren't little boys' heroes. Those guys are the worst people in the world, right? And so in my 20s, I'm living this insane party lifestyle. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom. Like, I mean, it was bad, dude. It was like gun in my mouth bad. And until that moment, nothing shifted. And it was then that it changed, and I was like, oh, I have to do something different. And I didn't know what the different thing was. I certainly, if you would have told me now almost 15 years ago that I'd be here with you, that I would have had over 1,000 podcasts and written 3 books and been on billboards in Times Square and been awarded and nominated for Coach of the Year and blah, I'd be like, whatever, that sounds absolutely insane to me because I can't even get out of bed to brush my teeth today. You know what I mean? And so I think that a big part of it is I got to that place where I had to choose myself. And you know as well as I do, there are people who are not going to choose themselves. And they are going to die, and they will never have fulfilled the opportunity that they had to live a great life. And I mean, I was on that path too. I just got lucky. I don't know. I can't explain it, man. I always felt like I was destined for more. So maybe there's a little ace in the hole for me on that one. But at the end of the day, you can't want it for people, man. And so I feel empathy for those people because I get it, but I don't have sympathy for them. I don't feel bad for them. And I know that's like a harsh thing to say, but like I've been there, dude. I've been on the bed, can't get out of bed, watching TV, getting high, bill collectors calling me, girlfriend pissed, found out I was cheating on her, family won't talk to me, smoking cigarettes, drinking. Okay, cool. What are you going to do about it? And that's a really hard pill for people to swallow because we live in this time, and I'm going to say this in a way that's just true, and people will get offended. And I'm sorry that you feel this way, but you might want to reflect on why you're offended. We live in the weakest time ever for people. People are so soft today. And many of us came through this phase of everybody gets a gold medal and nobody gets in trouble and everybody's perfect and deserves the world. Dude, I'm sorry. That is not how the world works. It is not. Nobody is owed anything. You have to earn every inch. And if that were different, we'd be talking about a different story, but that's not. And so again, I always say, live in the reality that you live in, not in the fiction that you want to. And this is the hardest part about all of this, Caleb, is that people will also take that step. They're like, all right, I'm going to drink the water. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to write the book. I'm going to record the podcast. I'm going to fix the relationship. I'm going to go to AA, all of the things that people say that they're going to do. And then they realize how difficult it is. And the thing that happens is they have not yet done this assessment about understanding how they have to have an identity shift, because the person that you are is actually incapable of being the person that you want to be. They don't have the skills and they do not have the tools, because if they did, you would already be that person. And so the thing that I often come back to is like, cool, well, what skills do I need to learn? Who do I need to be in connection to? Who do I need to spend time with? And one thing that always feels really true to me is, people, they want to be seen on the big screen, but they never want to do what is required behind the scenes. And there's something really tactile about the day-to-day suck of life. Yesterday I was speaking at this event in San Francisco, and this woman was like, man, it's so amazing to see you on stage, and I've been following you for years, and it's amazing to meet you in person, and that's so cool you get to do this for a living. And I'm like, this is 0.001% of my life. It's they don't see the up at 6 o'clock in the morning and going to the gym and eating eggs and pineapple for breakfast and drinking water, and they don't see the working and running the teams and the monotony of being an entrepreneur and a leader. They don't see the I gotta go to bed because it's 9:30. They don't see the I'm not partying at the strip club even though I'm in Atlanta and we could go to Magic City. They don't see that the things that I do and I don't do, right? And so it's like you want to have a great life, you have to do the things that great people do.
Yeah. If you want to have a great life, you have to do the things that great people do. Is it fair to assume, based on the story you just shared with us, that you have to hit rock bottom in order to want to change the person you are?
I mean, I would hope not, but that's kind of been the hypothesis behind Think Unbroken for the last 10 years. The podcast especially was, if I can give people the tools ahead of time, can we mitigate the risk of the rock bottom? Foundationally, what I just keep coming back to is no. And I've sat with Dr. Gabor Mate, I've sat with Meryl Bouquet, I've sat with Caroline Leaf, Tom Bilyeu, Hermoses. Like, I've interviewed everybody. You know what I mean? And we all agree. And I wish it was different, dude. We all go, nah, man, you're gonna have to eat shit. Like, it is just inevitable. If you and again, here's the thing too. This was interesting. I don't think everyone has to have a rock bottom, because I think there are a lot of people who are just good. And if you're good, dude, you already won. Cool. You don't need, I would just stop listening to this now. If you're happy, you won the race. If you're not, and you're not, and you put your head on the pillow at night and you hate your life, man, I hope that rock bottom comes tonight. Like, I hope tonight's the night for you. Like, I really do, because that's where the change happens. But between those two things, until the moment occurs where you're like, okay, there's something about my experience that I have to do differently because I hate my life so much that I can't stand the person I am, nothing's different. And everyone that I interview agree, and I agree, and all the people I've coached over the years, they would agree. And I think that's just part of it. And we live in a different time too, because if we were, if this was 200 years ago, it's like, who cares? You're going to die when you're 36 of, syphilis or chlamydia or like whatever the thing is people die, cholera, right? Whatever people die from. But if you got another, I'm 40, Caleb, and if I'm lucky, I have another 40 years. Like, I feel like I'm at the halftime show and I've already done all of these things. But here's what's interesting. Let's say that the halftime is 100% on a scale, right? Just for the sake of the conversation. So up to the halftime, I've played 100% of the first half. I only showed up for maybe 35% of that, right? And so it's like, okay, well, if I'm at halftime and I got another half, can I show up for 100% of the next half? And if you can not have the rock bottom and create the mindset that I just said in your own life, call me immediately, because I need to understand how you did it, because I've yet to meet anyone where that was true.
Yeah, and I think I often relate back to sports because that's where I've existed and most of my 100% of life, as you call it. I like that. Up until this moment, it's true. You have lived 100% of your life. But I think a lot of the skill sets that you just touched on, you can learn in athletics. And for a lot of us, when the athletics are gone, we feel useless, feel like a piece of shit, like we have no more worth. But that's not true. Athletics and sports are a microcosm of life. They're really representative of it. You could suck in the first half, like you said, come back and win the game in the second, tie in the second, play much better and still lose. Like, you don't know. You don't know. And that's scary. But I wonder if rock bottom is inevitable. I agree with you there in order to make a drastic change. But I feel like there's so many of us that are in the middle that are just like, hey, was this rock bottom? Do I make a change now? Do I wait for my rock bottom? Had I already missed my chance? Have I already had that? If we feel stuck in the middle, again, why take a step forward? And I know you can't do it for us, but like, how can we decide to take that step forward without just playing this waiting game?
Yeah, I mean, I get, I grew up playing sports too. And one of the big regrets I have about being young is I don't think that I ever fully got to show up in sports because I was always getting kicked off the teams. And so I was captain of the wrestling team, captain of the football team, co-captain of the baseball team. And I was like a great athlete, but a horrible student. So I never showed up because I kept getting kicked out. They'd be like, dude, you have straight Fs. You cannot play football. Like, what are you talking about? Right. And I only had, out of 4 years of high school, I only actually played 2 seasons of any sport. Right. But my point in saying this is, I look at sports as a great analogy because there are these games that you watch where there are amazing comebacks, like teams getting smoked. I grew up in Indianapolis. I'm a Colts fan. I mean, we watched the Patriots smoke us my entire childhood, dude. It was I hated it. I hate the Patriots to this day. Like, can't stand them.
I'm a Patriots fan, but it's okay,
dude. I can't stand you, Caleb. I hate you, dude. And like, and when we finally beat them in the AFC Championship and came back from 3 touchdowns down in the fourth quarter, it was one of the greatest comebacks ever, right? And then of course Brady goes and does a better one in Tampa Bay, but that's another story. And then, Monday night, because I'm an Indiana guy. I grew born and raised in Indianapolis, and so I have some allegiance to my team, to the Pacers. Dude, Pacers this year should have won the championship. Oh my God, it was one of the greatest finals ever, and then they just couldn't cross the finish line. And then you had IU just win the national championship in football undefeated. Arguably the greatest story in the history of sports, right? And all of this, I think, has one thing in common. It's about sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. But what you do every single day matters. Can you be prepared? Can you show up? Can you go and live out whatever this journey is that's in front of you? Like, I love The Alchemist. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And the whole thesis of The Alchemist is this idea that if you focused on the thing that you want, even though the universe is always going to be testing you, it's always going to also be inspiring conspiring with you to help you get your personal treasure. And all of those people, all these teams I just mentioned, they don't give up. They don't quit. And that's what athletics does for us. You're like, man, winning feels so much. How do I want to phrase this? Winning feels amazing. Losing actually hurts more than winning feels good. And so for me, I was like, man, I'm a loser. Caleb, I'm 25. I'm a loser. I don't care that I have an $80,000 car. I don't care if I have a condo in the best part of the city. I don't care if my girlfriend's smoking hot. I'm a loser, dude. I sat in that. And I was like, I want to go win a championship, man. Quarter one, out of my control. Refs were crappy. The team I got on, crappy. You know, I grew up with drug addict parents. I grew up in the hood. I have a learning disability. I have ADHD. I can't, dude, I'm horrible. I'm so bad at math. If you're like, what's 2 + 2? I'm like, I don't know. And you know, Q1, man, I didn't get in the game. It was rough. Q2, man, I got a couple interceptions. I got some false starts. And then eventually I was like, man, come on, we can win this game. I got fired up at the end of Q2. And then now that I'm in halftime, I'm like reestablishing, what do I want Q3 to look like? How do we go in here? How do we win? Because what's the championship for me, right? Because I'm answering your question. I know there's a very long way to get here, but here's the question that I'm always thinking about. How do you embrace adversity to forge resiliency? Because when you want something in life, you want to be a leader. You want to be a great human. You want to change the world. You want to do what I do. I don't know, whatever it is. You are going to be challenged the whole way through. And so that first step and that place of like stepping into your life only works with clarity about what the goal is. Because if you step into the game and you walk, there's a horrible analogy, but you'll get it. If you walk onto the football field with a baseball bat, you are ill-equipped. You are in the wrong sport, right? And that's how people are leading their lives. They are ill-equipped. They are not playing the right sport. They're doing the thing that they think they need to do because other people said they should do it, and they're not trusting themselves. They're not following through. They're not executing on becoming the person that they want to be. And because of that, then they listen to shows like this, or they read my books, or they, whatever the thing is, and they're looking for direction. And I always point people to this. You have to have massive clarity about what you want in your life. Constantly. Like just over here on the other side of the office, I have my 2026 goals here. I read them at morning and at night. First thing I do, last thing I do. And they're segmented into the 3 categories of life: health, wealth, and relationships. I call it the triad of life: health, wealth, relationships. And so I know what I'm doing every day. So I ask myself, okay, I'll give you a great example, right? So here's one of them that I added to 2026 because I needed to get back into it. I felt like 2025 was a little rocky. I put on there, go to therapy 2 times per month. Now, that was not something I have to do, right? I'm in a good place. Last year was a little rocky. I figured it out. Here I am. But I was like, wait a second. What if I can level up? Right. And then I'll give you a couple more because I think it matters. In relationships, you know, I wanted to get more vulnerable this year with everybody in my life. I wrote, let my guard down. That's a goal, 2026. I'm going to be more vulnerable with people. And then in wealth, I wrote, what's a good one here? Follow the budget. I said, follow the budget. How do I follow the budget? What do I have to do to make sure that, you know, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you're like, oh, sparkly thing syndrome, right? And I'm like, cool. Yeah, follow it, right? So everything that I do is alignment with that goal. And I ask myself this question: is what I'm doing moving me to or away from my goals? And so for a lot of people, this is where they're stuck more than anywhere. I would argue this with any of the greatest experts in the world, and some of them I have. I would argue that one of the reasons most people's lives suck is because their goals are too small, because they haven't yet been put into the situation in which they have to stretch who they are. Because if you are used to always being the person that you are, and there's nothing that pulls you into challenging your own self-narrative, you're not going to change, right? People are always like, well, how do you change? I'm like, go do something that requires you to not be you anymore. I dare you, right? And that's where the shift starts to take place. And when you walk into the football field and you walk into the pitch, when you walk in the baseball diamond, on the basketball court, whatever, all of the parts of you that are in your way, because this is true for everybody, have to get sat to the side and you have to focus. And then the second you get off, all of those parts of you come back and you have to deal with that. And I think one of the greatest things that I've learned just through the space of being an entrepreneur is, and I'm talking about 17 years in the game, dude. I've been doing this for a grip. I am not new to this. The one thing that I've learned above all is that being an entrepreneur requires you to become a better human, because there's no way you can do it otherwise. And so I think about my health. What requires me to change in my health? And my wealth? What requires me to change in my wealth? My relationships? What requires me to change in my relationships? The answer to all three of those questions is goals that have to stretch me. Like, they require me to be a different man. And so that's what I would encourage anybody to do. It's like, you go look at these people who are amazing leaders and champions. When Signetti stepped on the field, he was like, man, I got to be this person today to win this championship. We're going to do something so historical that has never been done before. I have to be different. Right? And I will tell you, same as I would tell anyone, that holds true for all of us. You want a different life? Do the things that winners do.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice when you were reading some of your goals off the wall, they all fit within that 3A framework, which is very, very reassuring. So people, I mean, not that they would anyway, but they know you practice what you preach. And I think that is huge in terms of credibility. Your awareness and acceptance were staying within the budget. Your anchoring was choosing to go to therapy twice a month. And then your actualization, from the way I took it, was becoming more vulnerable with every relationship that you have. Those are three very overwhelming tasks to the beginner, to someone who hasn't been in it for 17 years. If someone knows they want to change, has no freaking clue where to start, where did you start when you were in the rut, when you were 25? What was your first move? Because obviously it wasn't straight off the deep end.
No, it totally wasn't, dude. I've said this so many times. 26 to 30 were the 4 hardest years of my life, because that was the space of the chasm of the, here's who I used to be and here's who I'm trying to become. And I wasn't trying to become who I am today. I was just like, man, can you just not be an asshole all the time? Right? Massive anger issues, hundreds of fights, horribly in debt, not a good person, impact entirely by my childhood. And so in the beginning, dude, the depression was real, the anxiety was real, the ADHD was real, the impulses were real, like it was real. And I remember I was laying in bed one morning and I was like, I haven't brushed my teeth in 2 days. Like, dude, that's an insane thing. Like, to me, it's insane as a guy who now brushes his teeth 3 or 4 times a day, and even previously did. But I was in such a dark place. Like, I had there was nothing functioning in me. And on the good days, it was like, I brushed my teeth today. And that's no bullshit, dude. That is where I started. It was like, man, I can't even function. I can't go to work today. This is all overwhelming. I'm trying to make this business work. I can't even show up for myself. It was ugly. 26, 7, 28 was ugly. It was really, really dark. And I think that you have to start where you are. And it's also about some forced pressure. Like, how do you actually make yourself do things? If I could have taught myself a trick younger that I really understand and have embodied now, it's that sometimes you have to kick the door down. What do I mean by that? There are these elements in our life that we have control over that are in our way. And there's a doorway with all of those things, like being in a relationship that doesn't suit you, being in a job that doesn't suit you, not taking care of your health, smoke. Dude, it's crazy. I see people smoking cigarettes. Like, bro, it's 2026. Like, what are you doing? Right? And it's like, okay, well, there's a reason. Behind everything, there's a reason, Caleb. Generally, those reasons are we can categorize them into nature versus nurture, right? Somewhere along the line, you have been exposed to this self-soothing mechanism that regulates your nervous system. That's the part people don't understand. They're like, how dare my husband go and smoke cigarettes behind my back? I'm like, because he's regulating his nervous system. How could my boss tell me how important it is to be healthy, and then I see her drinking Coca-Cola all day, like whatever it is, you make up the scenario, it doesn't matter. That's arbitrary. What's not arbitrary is the reality that people will do whatever is required for them to feel whatever normal means to them. Here's the messed up part. What if you grow up like me and your normal is chaos? Being abandoned as a child, living with 30 different families between 8 to 12 years old, never feeling love, a mother who's a drug addict, a stepdad who's abusive, a grandmother who's racist, a community that doesn't understand mental health like they understand it now. So instead of being like, hey, this is a kid with like really severe ADHD, which makes sense because of how I grew up, they go, oh, he's a bad kid, we're going to put him in remedial schools. Right? And so what do you do as an adult? Well, you recreate your foundation because that's regulation to you. The body has now regulated into chaos. And when I'm working with people, and I hear them say, "Oh, I thrive in chaos," I'm like, "That's stupid. Why would you want to thrive in chaos? Wouldn't you want to thrive in peace and happiness and normality and stabilization and feeling like you can actually handle what's in front of you?" And everybody always goes, "Oh, that's a like really good point." And so here I am at 25, 26. I had recreated my childhood subconsciously. I didn't know, right? And most people don't know because you don't know what you don't know. And so I'd recreated this childhood. I'm living in it. And the entire time I'm like, why do I keep doing this shit? Like that was the kind of the question I kept asking myself. And then I started to educate myself about human psychology, and I realized there were patterns, and then I started to uncover the patterns, and I realized that the patterns that I was uncovering were directly tied to my childhood. And here's the thing, you can't escape it. I'm not saying let it rule your life because I don't think that works. And that's what happened to me in my mid-20s. But it's also like you have to be able to understand how you got to where you are. People are like, hey, I want to change who I am. I'm like, you don't even understand how you got here. Let's sort that part and then let's talk about transformation, right? And so in the beginning, it wasn't just, I got to brush my teeth today. It was also like, I have to educate myself. I have to do the things I know I need to do. I felt like I really needed to go to therapy for years because I had to go to therapy when I was young because of a lot of really bad things that happened. And yet I keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And then once I got in there, finally, I would just lie to this guy. That vulnerability piece I talked about, like it's interesting. Once you have patterns, like I'm still walking the same path. Not all of this is because life got bad for me. A lot of it is I don't want to get off the track. I've worked so hard to be on this track. I don't want to get myself off of it, right? These are guide rails to help me through my life because I set really, really big, ambitious goals this year. But what's interesting is when I was 26 and I had set really, really big, ambitious goals, I had to do the same thing I'm doing now. Because where you always, I don't care how much work you do, man, you're always going to revert to self-soothing patterns because it's human biology. And then when you understand them, now you can implement the tools to help you navigate them. So I always tell people, start where you are, but don't lie about it. Because if you do, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah, I was thinking about how you mentioned people set the bar too low, and that's why they don't reach the progress they want ever or as quickly as they'd hope, right? But you mentioned being depressed on your deathbed because maybe you got there the last 5 years of your life. Then you talk about understanding where you are and starting there. For you, it sounds like brushing your teeth was a lofty goal. It wasn't like we most do, like a habit, right? I always used to say, set the basketball hoop to 7 feet, and then once you can dunk on 7 feet, set it to 8 feet. Are you arguing that you should keep it at 10 feet and do the necessary work to get to 10 feet? Or is it okay to kind of lower the bar a smidge to feel that success, to get that motivation, to kind of get the ball rolling and then move it up?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think you need little wins in the beginning, man. If I told you to 180 your life, you're gonna wreck. It's gonna be horrible, right? Because so many people are like, today's the day, and then they uproot everything that they know about who they are, but it's embodied in them somatically, right? The thing that people don't understand is your body is habit. You look at somebody's body, I can tell you their habits. You look at somebody's calendar, I'll tell you their habits. You look at somebody's bank account, I will tell you their habits, right? And so you can't entirely replace who you are as a human being overnight. I don't know anybody that this has ever been successful for, right? I used to make this joke. I quit smoking cigarettes every single day for 10 years, right? But it was habitual to me. Like, man, this is the thing that I do. Now my habit is coffee. Like, no cap, dude. Like, I wake up, boom, coffee. Second I wake up. Now it's decaf. I moved over decaf, right? So, at least I'm not having jitters throughout the day. This is why I never did cocaine. Because, like, if I ever did cocaine, man, game over. But I love coffee. I love the experience. I love the habit of it. I love to wake up, walk in the kitchen, start waking up and go through the routine and start my day. Right? But think about this. If your habit is, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to reach over, I'm going to grab a joint, I'm going to get high, I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to eat chocolate cake, I'm going to have a beer, I'm going to call in sick to work, I'm going to do this again and again. Well, what does your life look like? And so people be like, tomorrow I'm sober, I'm getting up on time, I'm going to the gym, I'm going to go to work on time, I'm not calling in, I'm not going to eat cake, I'm not going to do anything that I just said. And they'll make it to like 2:00 in the afternoon. Right? Because habitually your body is regulated to that. So the thing that I am a proponent of is like, let's get one little win in this moment or in this day, because you're not going to win the championship today. It takes you a whole year. Dude, you got to go to preseason training camp. You got to go to regular training camp. You got to go to summer training camp. You got to go to preseason games. You got to go to the games. You have to go to the conference tournament. You got to go to the final. And then maybe you'll make it to the Super Bowl. Right? But it's taking you a whole year to get there. And so people are so focused on today. I'm like, paint me a picture 10 years from now. What's really ideal? Like, Caleb, I'm looking at my 10-year goals right now, and I'm like, dude, they're so humongous. They don't even make sense to my brain. Like, I can't like understand it right now because they're so big. And I'm like, dude, 10 years from now is so far away. It's going to take me so long to get there. And it's about doing the little things right every single day. And I love that we're talking about sports so much. I think about Friday Night Lights a lot. Like that's arguably my favorite sports movie. Coin flip with Mighty Ducks 2. It's a toss up. But in the series Friday Night Lights, there's a line that the coach has that I think about all the time. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. And when I think about that, it's like this. Can you have the clarity of the thing that you want and trust with your full heart that it's possible? Because if you can, on a long enough timeline, you're going to win. Stop trying to win a championship today when you had never even put on shoulder pads, bro. Like, let's get some practice reps in. And the only way you get practice reps in, you got to have the little wins, man. You got to have the good scrimmages. You have to have the great pass. You have to have the goal that you're like, damn, dude, I've been trying to kick that corner kick for 6 months. Got it. And that's where people need to start. Stop trying to be Superman, because it ain't going to happen. Do the thing today that you know moves you forward.
Yeah, I always go back to James Clear's Atomic Habits. That's one of my favorite books. And just the 1% better. 1% better every day. And you mentioned, as he does, negative habit stacking there. You could do it with good habits as well. All right? No one's saying that you go back to your behaviors, but if you choose one at a time, right? Instead of getting up, rolling the joint and smoking, get up and brush your teeth and then do the rest of your habits. And then get up, brush your teeth, and go to the gym. And then, like you said, make it to 2:00. Make 2:00 your goal. Don't make everything your goal. And then once you have 2:00 down, oh, can I make 3:00 my goal? And before you know, there's 365 days in a year. If you get a minute better every day, you're going to get significantly better by the end of the year. And then by the end of that 10 years, as you mentioned, you're not even going to recognize yourself.
Let me add one thing, because this is what I teach my clients. When we're working on big goals, the thing that I always tell them, and again, this is very in line with what you said, I go, do one thing different every single day for a year. Caleb today in 1 year is not going to be the same Caleb because he had 365 actions that moved him in a different direction. Now I multiply it because I look at it like this. if we segment our life into the triad of life, which I believe are the foundations of how we live: health, wealth, relationships, and you have goals in each one of these areas, and you move one step towards one of those goals every single day in each category, you now have taken 900 plus steps in the course of a year, probably closer to 1,000. Again, I don't know how to math, but you've taken so many steps over the course of the year in those three areas, you are unrecognizable a year later. But people are like, I want to be a year different today. I'm like, that's not how time works. It's linear. I hate that time is linear. And until you find a way to solve that problem, it is linear. And so do what you can do today. And then watch how different your life is in a year. Dude, this time last year, I'll give you a great example. I was hosting a massive mastermind in Belize. You know what I mean? And it took a long time to get to that place, right? And then the year before, I was like recording a television show, and the year before that, and the year before that, and it all kind of goes back to like, take me January 2016. I've seen a lot of people like posting 2016 stuff, which I think is like a weird trend that's been happening. I haven't done that, but I'll tell you exactly where I was January 2016. I was in Portland, Oregon, starting this company. 10 years later, I'm here with you. 3 books, 4 books, one's a bestseller, billboards in Times Square, millions of podcast downloads, 3,000 customers who have paid to come through my coaching program, tens of thousands of books sold, speaking on some of the biggest stages in the world, traveling all over the place. Bro, I can't. 10 years ago, I couldn't have done this. It'd be fucking impossible. Right? So 2016, I'm like, what's an LLC exactly? Because I don't think I did it right the first 7 years of my business. So that's the thing, man. It's like, do the thing today, 1% better. Like, I could not agree with you more.
Yeah, similarly to you, if you told me when I had my on-field anxiety attack as the team captain in front of my teammates that I would introduce Jordan Poyer of the Buffalo Bills to my school, like, that's a highlight of my journey so far. I mean, that's unreal. I got to sit and have a one-on-one conversation with him and his brother and learn about what he calls his rock bottom. And then the next year I flew to the NCAA and got to speak in your hometown at their convention center and at the DEI forum and just talk about mental health to industry leaders. And it's why me, right? Like, I often have that thought, why did I get lucky, as you said? But then you put it in a way where you got lucky because you put yourself in the position to get lucky. You got lucky in your case because you decided enough is enough. I'm just going to start with, again, brushing my teeth. If you didn't decide to brush your teeth all those years ago, you would not be in Belize. You wouldn't be.
Totally.
And I think that's where people go astray, is when you can pick up your phone and see success. Like you said, you can see on the big screen, not behind it. We're just so discouraged. If there's one thing you could say to the discouraged hopeful right now to help them take that step forward to get to those successes that they're witnessing on mainly social media, what would you say to them?
Dude, get off. Who cares about social media? Like, bro, I'm telling you right now, because of what I've been able to do, like, I'm in the room with a lot of these people that people look up to, and a lot of these people are train wrecks, bro. Like, a lot of these people are I'm a train wreck too. Shit, dude, I go therapy twice a month. What are you talking about? And so it's like, dude, why do you care what other people are doing? Part of the problem with the society that we live in is that so many people are obsessed with this idea that they have to be something other than they are. And I'm like, dude, if you're happy, I already said it. If you're happy, you won. Like, cool. You don't need to make 500 grand a year and have a Maserati. Who cares? Dude, if you're happy, you love your life, you have a job, like, you make couches, and that's your favorite thing in the world. Cool. You win. Caleb, all I'm doing, dude, I swear this is 100% true. All I'm doing is just doing what makes me happy. That's it. And some days business is good and some days it's not. Some days I'm on top of the world speaking in front of 5,000 people. Some days I'm like sitting with my accountant talking about, man, we got to figure out how to make payroll. That is the nature of the world that we live in, but I'm happy throughout the whole process. And look, this is just full truth. I've went from being a homeless kid with nothing, dude, stealing food from the Big Lots on the corner of 30th and Georgetown in Indianapolis to eat, opening the oven door in the winter and sleeping in the kitchen with my brother because we didn't have heat. Like, I went from that to this. And I can tell you that in the indulgent side of it, because it exists, and I have been able to fly first class around the world and go to the fanciest hotels and speak in front of all these people and sit in the back of a room and sign autographs and blah, 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 blah. And guess what? There's a price to pay for that stuff too. Dude, there's a trade-off. Relationships that didn't work, being on the road too much, getting sick, getting physically exhausted to the point I had to be hospitalized, like losing opportunities for things that probably would have been way better. Like, I've been wanting to be a big brother for like fucking 7 years. My travel schedule does not allow it. Right? I want to get married and eventually adopt kids. So I'm building that 10-year vision, as in 10 years, I'll be able to do that. And people are like, you can do it now. I'm like, no, I can't, because the lifestyle and what I'm chasing doesn't support that. Right? And so there's a trade-off, and you have to keep that in mind. You want somebody else's life, but you don't know their problems. If you want someone else's life, you have to also accept someone else's problems. Because behind the scenes, dude, I'm telling you, I wish that more people could be back in the rooms where I see the truth. And I'm cool with putting it out there, man. I would trade off so much of the experience to have a relationship that lasts. Because eventually it catches up. Dude, you can't be on the road fucking 200 days a year for 4 years and expect a relationship to work, right? I mean, there's ways around it, and people always go, well, you can travel with your, but I get it. Trust me, I've thought about all the things. You can't go and build an amazing business also if you want to go have fun all the time, right? The trade-offs exist. And there are people right now, they hear me or they see me and they go, man, I would love to have your life. I go, maybe? I don't know. Because you don't know what it's like when it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you got to have calls with people about them being on the edge of the ledge. You don't know what that's like. You don't know what it's like when sometimes it didn't go well, when the coaching session sucked and you're sitting in your edge of your chair and you're like, damn, dude, why didn't that work today? What did I miss? You don't know what it's like when you're sitting at the hospital exhausted because you went to that event and you knew you should have canceled it, but you're like, I got to go be of service. Right? And so I think that the greatest thing anybody could do, if they're having the experience that you just talked about, is just fucking delete Instagram, bro. Who gives a shit? The fuck does that have to do with your life, man? Get rid of YouTube. Actually, no, I love YouTube. I'm a huge fan of YouTube. Change your algorithm on YouTube. Get into the stuff that feels good. Get rid of Instagram. Dude, I don't want to like bring any negativity to your show, but I was actually just talking to someone about this last night. They sent me this reel and they were like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I'm going to go really ridiculous for a second. You can delete this if you think it's necessary because it's your show, but this happened last night and it made me very happy that my team runs all of my social media. I am not on them. Again, I'm fortunate because I could build a team and they can do that. So anyway, this friend of mine sends me this reel of this woman making a clip about walking around with a butt plug in. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with anything? Is that how our world is now? Is that the world we live in? Is
What
that
side
what
of
we're
Instagram
doing?
did you end up on?
I don't know. They sent it to me, right? And so I was like, we are so caught up with social media, but half of it's just bullshit anyway.
I think once you figure that out for social media, you figure that out for life as a whole. And then I
think so.
When someone comes to you and says, Michael, I want your life, what I think they're really saying is they want a better version of their own life, and they are inspired by you that you've been able to take steps towards that. Because I don't know if we ever get to the best version of self. I think that's the whole point of life, is we never will. It's just striving to. But I think if you look at, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but the important thing to remember is people want to be seen on the big screen, but they don't want to do what's required behind the scenes. You have no idea what it takes to get to this level. I don't even know what it takes to get to the next level I'm trying to go to yet, but I know it's going to be very, very, very hard. And so I think that's the thing that people just have to remember. Just go make goals that fill you up and go and chase it with every ounce of vigor humanly possible and just see what happens. Stop getting caught up in collusion with stuff that's not important. Half of the stuff that you're consuming all day. I interviewed Dr. Caroline Leaf, who's an amazing brain psychologist, or mind psychologist, I should say. And then I interviewed Dr. Anna Lemke, who is one of the lead researchers in the world on dopamine. Go listen to those 2 episodes on my podcast, and it'll change the way that you think about social media. I swear to God. Because the second I interviewed Anna, I had to go read Dopamine Nation, and then I understood what was happening when I was spending time on social media. And that next day I gave it to my team, and that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, the best choice I did was overspend a little bit on a social media manager, because I spent so much time on the business social media that I didn't even get to check up on my friends anymore. And that was important to me. I wanted to, the algorithm I wanted to see was, what the heck had my college friends been doing for the last 3 years since we've disappeared, you know?
Totally.
And I didn't realize it until one day I just woke up, and honestly, I think my girlfriend told me, she's like, just check your screen time. You're not present half the time. You're just staring at that square. So
yeah, and dude, if you're on your phone when you're with your friends and your girl and at the movies and when you're supposed to be driving and when you're having dinner with people and at the coffee shop, your life is literally passing you by. Dude, it's brutal how much screen time that I think people are going to, like, I want deathbed screen time stats. I want to see what a life on Instagram looks like when you're 80. And then it says you've been on Instagram 14.2 years.
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think you made a lot of amazing points. I mean, I'm so glad you took the time to jump on and speak with us. You mentioned the podcast a little bit. Can we follow you on social media if getting off of it is not what we want to do right now? Can we find you anywhere?
Yeah.
Where are your books?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll link them all below, but
yeah, if you want to come doom scroll me, I'm at Michael Unbroken on all the social medias.
fair enough. There you go. Well, if like you said, you don't want to delete social media and you want to reorganize your algorithm, Michael Unbroken is a great place to start, because once you get on this rabbit hole of self-improvement, the world is yours. And that's really all there is to it. You just have to, again, like you said, choose yourself, get real with yourself, and then live every day to your best ability, because it's never perfect, in that vision of what you're shooting for. And when you hit it, set another vision, and then you'll get to where you're meant to be. That's what I say. You'll get to where you're meant to be. But
Totally.
well, thank you again for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing where your 10-year plan ends up. I'm going to hopefully be around in 10 more years and have you back on and say, "Hey, Michael, let's watch this clip back here. We're going to test you. Did you think you'd ever be here?" So,
I'm getting there. It's not an option, dude.
No, well, we're going to replay this part right here in 10 years, and then we're going to show people that it's possible.
That's right. Love it.